I wanted to ask you about trespass. For example, I'm hearing of stories in regional Australia, particularly in our Indigenous community, whereby authorities are turning up on doorsteps in uniforms and in gowns and insisting that the people be mandatorily vaccinated. Do we have any rights in our own property that we are living in, such as whether we own or rent? And can we just tell people who appear to be authority to get off our lawn?
We have a fundamental common law, constitutional and God-given right. The right of trespass, the right of privacy in your own home is a paramount right under common law. It's existed for a long time. Police cannot come into your house without a warrant. None of these things can. They're deliberately trying to intimidate people into consent that doesn't exist. So you have every right to refuse. If they do not have a warrant, if the police come with a lawful warrant, even then, you can resist a warrant with a reasonable excuse. The legislation says quite clearly without reasonable excuse. That's in regards to a warrant. But when they're talking about warrantlessly coming in, no, they don't have the right. And if you tell them to not come in and they want to come in or try to force their way in, you have every right to use all force that is reasonable in the situation to stop them coming in. I would argue too at law, because you have a right to self-defense, you have a right to use all force that's reasonable up to and including lethal force if absolutely necessary. So if someone came into my house trying to mandate something or saying they're going to inject me, if they took one step through that door after I told them not to, I would, if necessary, absolutely necessary, I would kill them if I had to protect myself and my family and my children and my grandchildren. And that's a constitutionally protected right. I have the right to do that. These rights are well known. In New South Wales, I think it's 418 to 422 Crimes Act. I think if you look that up, there's a thing called a right of self-defense. You have those rights. The police cannot come in. They can't make that. This is a game where they're using this implied state of emergency that does not exist. The maths don't add up to override these fundamental laws. But people have to stand their ground with this, Jason. And you need to it's most probably important for people to understand common law and what common law is. Common law is the law in case law in this country. The law is through authorities. When you go to court, you call up other cases in history to cement your positions and run your arguments. And you say, this happened in this case and this case. Now, the common law is the law that's been established through what the people are prepared to put up with and what they're not prepared to put up with. In other words, there's certain things we believe are wrong and we use and know are wrong. Like you can't just kill, like the first commandment is to a Christian, or a himsa, to not cause suffering, like to a Buddhist. These common principles have been put in place by what we all allow and what we all tolerate. So the right to privacy, you know, your home is your castle, is fundamental to common law, and that's a fundamentally protected right. And the police know it, and all the authorities know it, the government know it, and people need to stand their ground with these rights really, really clearly. So again, to summarize, no, they can't come in, and they can't come in with suits on. What happens is a lot of people, and I mean no disrespect to the Indigenous, and I've worked a lot with them. I've even been initiated Gomeroi, Gamilaroi, and the Grandmothers Against Removals, a lady that started it, a very dear friend of mine, Elizabeth Humbles, passed away. Her and another lady, Hazel, started that movement. So I've done a lot of work helping the Indigenous and trying to empower them as well. A lot of the time they focus on the lower socioeconomic groups and the people that have been more abused in their life because they're more subservient to power. So they see people in uniform and they automatically fall into a subservient position, feeling disempowered, not recognizing that they have a personal power that's given to them by Creator. And not only that, but you have a God-given right, you have a common law right, and you have a constitutional right. All those things exist. If you know your rights, they cannot and will not come in. And you have a right to oppose that using whatever means is necessary to stop them. Once they know you know that, they don't come through the door. This is the difference. And community, just to finish too, the other point is they quite often prey on people. This is why they're breaking us apart and they're separating community, is because one person on their own, particularly a helpless mother, you know, say for example an Indigenous mother, or someone from you know, another cultural group like a migrant or something like that. They can really target these people that have come from volatile situations in their life and take advantage of it with a power play. So the power is in community too. Your neighbours should come and support you. Say, no, you can't come in this house. If she doesn't want you to come in, don't come in, you know. That helps people a lot. But the right of trespass is fundamental. People really need to understand this. Again, I've got information on my website about it, and it's well recognised at law. Anyone will tell you this. You have a right, your right to protect your home and your castle and not allow people in without a warrant. A lawful warrant is different. If they have a lawful warrant, you can, with a reasonable excuse, refuse a warrant. Say if they said they had one and didn't show it to you, that's a reasonable excuse. There are reasonable excuses, but if the police come with a lawfully sworn and correctly filled out warrant and they show it to you and it's all done properly, that's the only time they can come in lawfully into your house.